Hello, good afternoon. I was pleased to represent the United Kingdom today, not just as Minister of State in the UK, but as you will know that the United Kingdom has a strong and long-standing priority on preventing sexual violence in conflict. Indeed, I've had the honor to lead this agenda over the last 7 years. We recognize the importance at this time of Special Representative Pramila Patten's report, which contains deeply concerning findings on sexual violence, and it's right that the Security Council considered it today. Before I go any further, I do pay tribute to the work of SRSG Patten over the last 7 years. I've been in the field with her, and her work in this area is exemplary. Turning to the report itself, we, the United Kingdom, were appalled by the reports of the horrific sexual violence committed by Hamas on the 7th of October and against hostages. It's deeply disturbing to know, as the report says, that such violence may be ongoing against those still in captivity, end quote. We again reiterate our call for the immediate, safe and unconditional release of all those still held. We are equally shocked by the very concerning reports referenced in the SRSG's report, and indeed by the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, of sexual violence perpetrated by Israeli forces against Palestinian detainees. As I did just now in the Security Council, we call on Israel to take immediate measures to prevent conflict-related sexual violence, abide by international humanitarian law, and to ensure thorough investigations into these reports and for perpetrators to be held to account. If I may, to be absolutely clear, the United Kingdom condemns unequivocally conflict-related sexual violence in all its form, whoever the perpetrator, wherever it occurs. Conflict-related sexual violence doesn't just destroy the life of the person who's inflicted with the most worst kind of violation against their being. It shatters lives and leaves brutal and lifelong scars for their families as well. And to put it quite simply, it must stop. We stand with absolute solidarity with all victims and survivors, and perpetrators, wherever they are in the world, must be held accountable, and survivors must receive holistic support. Indeed, that's why the United Kingdom last year at the CSW, I was pleased to announce the launch of the International Alliance on Preventing Sexual Violence in Conflict. Let me also say this, that the UK fully agrees with the SRSG that investigations should be conducted in a manner consistent with a survivor-centered approach, and we must ensure justice for all victims and survivors. And finally, ultimately, the way we will see a long-term solution to all the challenges of security in the Middle East is through a two-state solution. It's the only way to achieve justice. It's the only way to achieve security for both Israelis and Palestinians. And that is why the United Kingdom has now consistently called, and calls again today, for an immediate stop to the fighting, leading to a permanent, sustainable ceasefire. If I may reflect personally, today indeed is the first day of Ramadan, as many have said already. And perhaps this is an opportunity to grasp an end to the fighting, and that we must collectively work, and a poignant reminder that we must collectively work towards peace, which can only be achieved through the two-state solution of Israel and Palestine, two states side by side, living in peace and mutual respect. Thank you. Happy to take a couple of questions. Please.
Thank you, Gabriel Elizondo from Al Jazeera English. Thank you for taking questions, Lord Ahmed. A question about the a maritime corridor that your country is part of. The U.S. Defense Department said that it's going to take at least 2 months to get a ship to the location to start building the dock or causeway, and then take another couple days to build it. So we're 2 months away, perhaps. Don't you think that that is too long? The United Nations is saying aid is needed for people in Gaza yesterday and today, not 2 months from now. Do you think your country's efforts would be better spent pressuring Israel to open up road corridors that would deliver aid much faster?
Well, first of all, it's not just the United Nations saying that. The United Kingdom agrees with the United Nations. We must do all we can to ensure aid, as you rightly said, should have been delivered yesterday and today and tomorrow, and that means unhindered humanitarian access. But for that to happen, that's why we must have the fighting to stop. The United Kingdom, I was together with Lord Cameron, we visited Egypt, we visited Jordan, and we have made that point consistently. The United Kingdom has trebled its humanitarian assistance, and we need, as you rightly articulate, these corridors to open. The United Kingdom was the first country to articulate the opening of Karem Shalom, 6 lanes which are custom built for this very purpose. We've been talking of other routes opening up, and let's not forget a lot of focus is put on Rafah. Rafah was primarily a pedestrian access point, and it's been adapted to meet the demands. Therefore, in recognizing the efforts of both Egypt and Jordan, it's also important, I agree with you. The maritime option is one we are supportive of. And yes, you're quite right, we agree with the United States. It will take time for that port to be built. And that is why, whilst we are working on that option, we've done airdrops, and again, we thank the coordination we've had with the Jordanians. The main route must be land routes, and these must be open now. And that is why the United Kingdom's position, it's a point said time and time again by my dear colleague and friend Lord Cameron, the Foreign Secretary, is stop the fighting, release the hostages, get the aid in. It's the right thing to do for all concerned, but let's then use that opportunity to ensure that we engage, that this isn't repeated. We don't want to see a return to the fighting. And, you know, this needs to end now, and we can see something on the horizon which provides, as I said in my opening remarks, a two-state solution, and that's why it has to be a credible political horizon, and as others have said and the United Kingdom agrees, irreversible steps to ensure that we actually realize the two-state solution. Well, as you know, there's a report underway which has been conducted by the Secretary General. We await the return of that. We were, of course, very much alarmed by the findings of UNRWA. We've been in direct contact with UNRWA. And what I would also say is that we recognize the important work UNRWA has done. That said, that hasn't prevented the United Kingdom to working with other agencies, including UNICEF, the World Food Programme, and others, to actually deliver the aid. But let's be again clear to the main point, that having a double-digit or 100-odd trucks going in daily is not enough. We need 500-600 trucks going in daily through the land route. So I very much agree with the premise of your question. I'll take one more, perhaps, yes.
Sorry. Yes, thank you, Mr. Adla Masood from The National. What would it take for the UK to formally recognize Palestine as a state?
Well, I think you've heard what Lord Cameron has said, that we must provide and lay the foundations for an important pathway and irreversible steps to have. And that include, as the Foreign Secretary has said, including recognition within the United Nations. I think we want to work with key partners. We're doing just that. There are 4 elements that we've laid out very clearly, that we need to see the fighting stop, the immediate release of hostages, aid to go in, and then we lay the foundations on the reconstruction, a revitalization of the Palestinian Authority, and that credible pathway to 2 states. But it must be now, if I may say so. The world is seized, and rightly so, of the tragedy which is unfolding in Gaza. The world was shocked of the events of the 7th October. Let this be a moment now that we can grasp the opportunity, work together, whoever has whatever equity, let's deliver a stop in the fighting, and then work towards this peaceful, noble objective which I've outlined. Thank you so much.